Good afternoon, Becky. I want to take a moment here and take a moment and review the lesson we had the other night. As we take a look here, the things we worked on during this golf lesson here initially was that of that approach shot, that wedge, that gap, that 8, 9-iron shots, trying to find that right ball position, right position on where you need to have your weight properly dispersed, have your setup in the proper position, and vice versa, have the club come in at the proper position to produce the proper loft, the proper launch angle, everything to give you that consistent shot pattern time after time after time when we're close in, when we're just a little far out, but just being able to show you these different instances. So when we take a look at the screen here, this is where you were at the first beginning. You can kind of see, this is just a little bit of a longer golf swing as you take into this. You can see how all the weight is over to the left-hand side. You see there's a little bit of that stack and tilt type of method. So as you see yourself in this position, you can see that, so as we see your setup here, you can see that the hands are a little forward here. Definitely tell that the weight is forward to the left-hand side. The whole body, you see the left leg, the right leg, I should say, not the left, but the right leg here, slightly bent forward, definitely showing that that weight is forward. So as you take the club back, you can almost kind of see in this position here where the club is. All right, so if we see the position that we're at, that's kind of the biggest thing, and almost see that right hand or that right arm take us all the way up, bring the club back down. You've got great turn. Even with the surgery you said you had, I think you're still making a great turn into a great position as you come down in and through the shot. Now, what I might like to see just a little bit, Becky, is you can see that right hand. You see that right hand kind of pushing forward there? And when you see that, you can see how that left wrist is kind of breaking down. You can definitely see it right there as your follow through here and then up. So sometimes if you shortchange yourself or you shorten the swing or you compensate a little bit by that right hand coming into play, you may not always get that exact shot that you might be looking for. So taking that apart, what we're going to look at here, and that's kind of a different screen there, but let's see here. We flip this back around. All right, well, let's record you upside down there. So as we look at this, what I'm looking for and what we can definitely take a look at is going to be that of your ball position. Initially we can see in this first initial setup, obviously I apologize for it being upside down, but you can see one, especially in comparison here, the weight being a little more balanced. So everything forward, left arm being outside the left leg, everything is centered, everything is in position. And your great setup, great ball position, trying to get that swing back and forth as you do this. Let's see, take a golf swing here. Good transition through night and day. That was pretty good. Let's go to the next one here. All right. So as we take a look at this here, Becky, what we're looking at here initially, there again, is your ball position. When we talked here, I wanted you to have just the weight a little bit forward. Not so much as you see on the right-hand side here, but on the left-hand side, I just want you to weight a little bit forward, and I didn't want you to take it back as far. I want you to kind of think that 75%, 75% swing as you come back. So initially what you kind of relate that to is how aggressive you came through the shot. Now when I say that, you can kind of see the swing being long again, but what you can tell, the position over here on the left-hand side, as you've taken that club back further and into the backswing, you don't see that the body is so disproportioned as we see on the right-hand side here. We go here, here, and here. Whereas now we got the lines just a little bit better. What I like to see, there's not so much tilt in the spine, not so much, the body's made a little bit better turn. And I think, and that comes from getting that weight a little more centered as you come down than as you come through. And I definitely think much better positioning here on the hands turning through and as you came through. And I think as we saw this, as you did it more, you found that position. So initially what we were doing the whole time was in a sense kind of altering one, the ball position. Here, this is just a little left in the middle, not all the way up. And then, as we then slowly later on, we also moved it back in the stance as well, which we'll see in a second here. But I think initially, as you found this, about that thought being about 75% golf swing as you come down and through, just find that way, just feeling that transition back and so that way, as you came down and through, that one ball position was constant. We got the loft on the ball, and you can almost see that loft of that ball right here. Right there. And already, .31, this one being right at about 36. The difference is in the two, obviously. What we talked about is as you move that ball back, you're going to see that launch angle come down a little bit. But vice versa here, it's also going to allow you to have, when the weight is a little more centered, a little bit better position, as you make your turn back and through, everything is centered and we're turning around that point. I think, sometimes what you found on occasion is that inconsistent shot pattern with that ball being forward, weight being forward so much that when you took such a long swing, the swing doesn't hurt as much on the right-hand side there when you take a shorter abbreviated swing in this case, because your weight, with all the weight forward, you can still get everything through the shot and be a little more consistent. But over here, you started with your weight a little more centered, allowed yourself to turn down and through, and we start seeing a little bit better consistent shot pattern, and start seeing things be a little bit more consistent. Now, same thing here. This is where we switch to another, probably the gap wedge here in this case. Definitely paying attention to that of our ball position as we come here, down and through. And then when we go to the next one, this is where we see I want to weight a little more forward. We see the ball going back in the stance, obviously compared to where we're at here. On the left-hand side, just kind of seeing, and that's what we're wanting to see. I want to give you some options. By having these different options with each of these clubs, it allows you to be a little more consistent, have a little more shot, a few more shots in your arsenal. So allowing you to have a few more shots in your arsenal to, as you approach so by having you tell by the different positions on where we played the ball in the stance, 1, 2, your weight positioning as well, and then 3, having that consistent, dare I say, position as far as you take the club back in your backswing, thinking more 75% rather than swinging 100% with golf shots. And that was kind of my whole goal, is as you did this, even though we still see you made this transition, you were still, the tempo was there, we slowed down the golf swing, had to be consistent, in your golf swing. When you were taking it back real quick, taking it up back, didn't allow your weight to transfer back properly, and then thus in turn allow you to turn back through the shot like you should. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that consistency, and we're looking for that position of being able to turn back and forth time after time the same way. Okay. Now, as we look at here, I definitely think we've seen that position. On the left-hand side, you hit some great shots with that ball being back in your stance. And that made a difference. Allowed you to see something different than you've ever done before. This we went back. I think this is the 8-iron here. As we come down, we come through, and what you can see on this case here, great contact with it here. and turning through. Now, Becky, if you have any questions, like I said, one, we're altering that ball position. Don't be afraid to do that. Find a different position, depending on the wind, depending on the terrain, depending on how you are per se as you go through it. Two, think about, like what we said, your tempo, or your transition. That being, that's 75%, not swinging 150% every time. All right, these are finesse shots, these are position shots, where we're wanting to put the ball time after time closer to the pin, getting up and down for a lower score. And then, quite frankly, as we look at here, weight position. Is your weight going to be a little bit forward? Is it going to be centered? In no case will the weight be to the right side on any of these shots. The whole key is to try to get that constant weight transfer as consistent as possible. Now, as you see this here, I definitely think there was a big improvement, and I think you would agree as well. So now, if you have any questions, I want you to shoot me an email, michaelwyattgolf@gmail.com, or give me a call at 314-724-6539. We'll talk to you later, and have a good day.